Hello, and welcome to Myths for Slumber. You have found your way to a quiet place, a sanctuary from the noise of the modern world. Tonight, we will let the concerns of the day, the deadlines, the worries, simply fade away, like smoke from a forgotten candle. We are going to travel together, not across land or sea, but through time itself, to a world of shadow and secrets and a strange, quiet beauty, a world of Greek gods and mortal heroes. So, find a comfortable position. Allow your eyes to gently close. There is nothing you need to do and nowhere you need to be. Simply breathe. Breathe in and feel the cool air fill your lungs. Breathe out and let go of the day. Tonight's journey takes us to a place of myth, to the story of a goddess who became the queen of two worlds, the world of light and the world of darkness. This is the story of Persephone.
Our story begins not in darkness, but in the endless light of an ancient field. Imagine a meadow in Sicily, bathed in the golden, honey-like warmth of the afternoon sun. The air is heavy with the sweet scent of wildflowers, narcissus, hyacinth, and wild violet. You can almost feel the gentle breeze as it whispers through tall grasses, making them dance in slow, lazy waves. The only sound is the low, contented hum of bees drifting from one blossom to the next. And in this field is a young goddess. Her name is Persephone. She is the daughter of Demeter, the great mother goddess of the harvest. And like her mother, she is a vision of life itself. Her laughter is the sound of rustling leaves. Her movements are as graceful as a willow branch in the wind. She wanders through the meadow, her fingers gently brushing the petals of each flower. She gathers a bouquet, not with urgency, but with a quiet sense of wonder. The world to her is this field. It is warmth and light, and the simple promise that the sun will always rise again. She is so lost in this peaceful moment, so captivated by the beauty around her, that she doesn't notice one flower set apart from the others. A single narcissus bloom, impossibly beautiful. Its petals are a brilliant white, and a strange, hypnotic light seems to pulse from its center. It is a flower planted not by nature, but by fate, a lure placed there by a god who has watched her from his dark kingdom below. Drawn by its unearthly beauty, she steps away from her companions. She kneels down, her fingers reaching for the stem. She does not know that with this one simple act, her world of endless sun is about to meet its shadow. As Persephone's fingers touch the stem of the strange narcissus, the ground beneath her begins to tremble, not with violence, but with a deep, resonant shudder, as if the world itself is sighing. A fissure, a dark, silent crack, appears in the soft earth of the meadow. It widens, not with a roar, but with the quiet finality of a closing door. From the darkness, a shape emerges. It is a chariot, crafted from polished obsidian and dark metals, drawn by 4 magnificent black horses. Their eyes gleam like embers, and their breath mists in the warm afternoon air. And holding the reins is the god of the underworld himself, Hades. His face is not one of monstrous rage, but of ancient, solemn power. He is the king of all that is hidden, of all that is silent, of wealth buried deep within the earth. He has watched Persephone from his kingdom of shadows, and has come to claim her as his queen. He lifts her into the chariot. There is no scream, only a sudden, sharp intake of breath as the warmth of the sun is stolen from her skin, replaced by an impossible cold. The scent of wildflowers is gone, replaced by the smell of damp earth and ancient stone. The black horses turn, and with a movement as silent as a passing shadow, they plunge back into the earth. The fissure in the meadow closes above them, leaving behind only a few scattered petals and a profound and echoing silence. The descent begins. Imagine this journey with her. It is not a fall, but a slow, steady glide into absolute darkness. The last sliver of sunlight vanishes, and you are wrapped in a cool, velvet black. The air changes. It grows heavy, still, carrying the scent of minerals and slow-moving water. The only sound is the rhythmic, muffled beat of the horse's hooves on the unseen path, a sound like a distant, steady heartbeat. They traveled for what feels like an eternity, through caverns vast beyond comprehension, where unseen rivers echo in the dark. Persephone feels not terror, but a deep and a profound and overwhelming sense of separation. She has left the world of life and is entering the domain of memory. Finally, the chariot slows. The darkness begins to take shape. In the distance, a faint, silvery light appears, not from a sun or moon, but a luminescence that rises from the ground itself. They have arrived in the kingdom of Hades. Before you stretches a landscape of quiet grandeur, a vast, silent plain under a sky of perpetual twilight. Great, shadowy mountains loom in the distance, their peaks lost in the gloom. The chariot pulls to a halt before a massive palace. It is not made of gold or marble, but of polished black obsidian that seems to drink the faint light from the air. Its gates are vast, guarded by the silent, three-headed hound, Cerberus. But for his master, he is still, a loyal, quiet guardian at the threshold. Hades leads Persephone into his great hall. The silence here is absolute. The floors are smooth, dark stone, and the only sound is the soft echo of their own footsteps. A great, unlit hearth sits on one wall, and at the far end of the room, upon a dais, sits a throne of solid, unadorned ebony. This is her new home, a kingdom of stillness, a realm built on the foundation of all that has ever been. Over the days that follow, or what passes for days in this timeless place, Persephone begins to explore. She wanders the silent corridors of the palace and discovers the 5 great rivers that border the realm. First, she comes to the river Styx, the river of unbreakable oaths. Its waters are dark and slow, and as she gazes into them, she can almost hear the faint, forgotten promises of gods and mortals bound forever to its current. It is on this river that the gods themselves swear their most solemn vows, for to break an oath sworn on the Styx is to suffer a punishment beyond imagining. She finds another river, the Acheron, the river of pain. Its waters are murky and grey, and it carries the silent sorrows of the newly dead. It is here that the ferryman Charon poles his skiff, a silent, hooded figure, guiding the shades of the departed across the water, but only if they can pay the price. Then she discovers the river Lethe, the river of forgetfulness. Its waters are clear and placid, and they whisper with a gentle, lulling sound. It is said that any soul who drinks from the Lethe forgets their past life entirely, their joys, their sorrows, their very name, preparing them for whatever lies beyond. It is a river of quiet mercy, a release from the burdens of memory. Persephone does not drink. She remembers the sun. She remembers the fields of flowers, and a deep, quiet melancholy settles in her heart. She is a goddess of life, trapped in the land of the dead. But she is also a queen. And as she sits on the ebony throne beside Hades, a strange transformation begins. Her youthful laughter is replaced by a dignified silence. Her gaze becomes steady, knowing. The spirits of the dead, the silent, drifting shades begin to bow to her. They see in her not an intruder, but a sovereign, a queen who understands both the warmth of the sun and the cold, quiet truth of the shadows.
While Persephone was finding her place in the silent kingdom below, the world above had fallen into despair. Her mother, Demeter, the great goddess of the harvest, of grain, of the earth's bounty, was consumed by a grief so powerful it changed the world. She wandered the earth, her divine form cloaked in black, searching for her lost daughter.
Her cries of sorrow were carried on the wind, but no one could tell her where Persephone had gone. And as the mother grieved, the earth grieved with her. The green, fertile fields turned brown and brittle. The leaves on the trees withered and fell, leaving behind skeletal, grasping branches. The grain refused to grow. The flowers wilted and died. A deep, relentless chill settled over the land. It was the world's first winter, a winter born not of a season, but of a mother's broken heart. The mortals on earth starved. Their pleas and their prayers rose to Mount Olympus, but the gods were powerless against a sorrow so fundamental. Finally, Zeus, the king of the gods, knew he had to act. He sent Hermes, the swift messenger, down into the underworld with a decree. Hades must release Persephone. When Hermes arrived, he found a kingdom in perfect silent order, and a queen sitting on her throne, a quiet authority in her eyes. The bargain was struck. Persephone could return to her mother, but there was a condition. She must not have consumed any food from the underworld. But it was too late. Hades, in a moment of quiet cunning, or perhaps even tenderness, had offered his queen a single perfect fruit, a pomegranate, and she, in her long and lonely stay, had eaten just 6 of its dark, jewel-like seeds. A small act, but one with eternal consequences. The fates had woven their thread. She had partaken of the fruit of the dead, and was now bound to their realm forever. A new bargain had to be made. For every seed she had eaten, she would spend 1 month of the year in the underworld as its queen. For the other 6 months, she could return to the world above, to her mother, to the light. And so the great cycle of the seasons was born. When Persephone emerges from the darkness each year, her mother Demeter rejoices. The earth rejoices with her. The frost melts, the fields turn green, the flowers bloom, and the warmth of spring and summer returns to the world. But when the time comes for her to return to her silent kingdom, her mother grieves once more. The leaves turn to gold and crimson, the air grows cold, and the earth settles into the long, quiet sleep of autumn and winter, waiting patiently for the return of its queen. Persephone became a ruler of 2 realms, the queen of life in the sunshine and the undisputed solemn queen of the underworld in the shadows. Her kingdom below was a place of finality, a one-way journey for all mortal souls. While she reigned, few ever dared to enter her realm while still breathing, and even fewer ever hoped to leave. But among those few was a musician, a man whose heart was so full of love and whose music was so full of sorrow that he would challenge the very laws of life and death. A man who would descend into the darkness armed only with his lyre and a desperate, impossible hope. His name was Orpheus. Orpheus was the son of a muse, and from his mother he inherited a gift that surpassed all mortals. He was the greatest musician the world had ever known. When he played his lyre and sang, the world itself would stop to listen. Wild beasts would grow tame and lie at his feet. Trees would bend their branches to hear him better. The very stones of the earth would weep with the beauty of his music. And his greatest inspiration was his love for a nymph named Eurydice. Their love was as perfect as his music. They lived in a state of idyllic grace, wandering the sunlit forests, their days filled with light and harmony. But one day, as Eurydice was walking through a field, a viper, hidden in the tall grass, struck her heel. The poison was swift, and before Orpheus could even reach her side, her spirit had departed, beginning its silent journey to the underworld. The world fell silent. Orpheus's music died. His lyre, once a source of endless beauty, now gathered dust. The grief that consumed him was a cold, empty void. He could not accept a world without her. And so he made a decision that no mortal had ever dared to make with such hope. He would descend into the land of the dead himself, and with the power of his music he would persuade the unmovable hearts of Hades and Persephone to give him back his love.
He traveled to the hidden entrance of the underworld, his lyre upon his back. As he began his descent, he started to play. He played a song of such pure, heartbreaking sorrow that the very fabric of the underworld responded. He came to the river Styx, where the grim ferryman Charon refused passage to the living. But as Orpheus's music washed over him, the old ferryman's hands stilled on his oar, and for the first time in eternity, he pulled his skiff across the water for a living soul. His timeless face streaked with tears he did not understand. He stood before Cerberus, the fearsome three-headed guardian. The hound growled, its three heads ready to tear him apart. But Orpheus played on, and the beast's growls softened into whimpers. It lay its heads upon the ground, its eyes closed, lulled into a peaceful sleep by the melody of loss. He walked through the asphodel meadows, where the shades of the dead drift in a state of aimless, silent forgetting. As his music reached them, the ghostly figures turned. For a fleeting moment, a flicker of memory, of love, of sorrow returned to their spectral faces. They followed him, a silent, ghostly procession drawn to the sound of a living, breaking heart. Finally, he stood in the great dark hall of the palace, before the thrones of Hades and Persephone. The king and queen of the underworld looked down upon him, their faces impassive, ancient, and cold. And there, In the absolute silence of their court, Orpheus sang. He sang of the sun on Eurydice's hair. He sang of the warmth of her hand in his. He sang of the simple, profound joy of a shared life and the bottomless, echoing emptiness of its loss. His music filled the hall, a current of pure, raw emotion in a realm that had known none. And the impossible happened. Persephone, the queen of shadows, who had forgotten the warmth of her own mother's tears, felt a tear trace a path down her own cheek. And Hades, the great unmoving god of the final darkness, the lord of all that ends, was moved. He agreed. Eurydice could return to the world of the living, but there was one condition, one simple yet terrible rule. Orpheus must walk ahead of her on the long path back to the surface, and he must not, under any circumstances, turn around to look at her until they had both stepped fully into the sunlight. If he looked back, even for a moment, she would be lost to him forever. The journey back began. Orpheus walked, his heart a storm of hope and fear. Behind him, he could hear the faint, soft sound of her footsteps, a ghost of a sound on the stone path. The path was long and steep and shrouded in the same disorienting twilight. For hours he walked, fighting every instinct, every fiber of his being that screamed for him to turn, to make sure she was truly there. The silence behind him was the greatest torture. Was she still following? Did she stumble? Did the darkness reclaim her? The doubt began to gnaw at him, a poison far worse than the vipers. Finally, he saw it, a pinprick of light in the distance, the entrance to the mortal world. He stepped out of the cave into the blinding, beautiful sunlight. He felt the warmth on his skin, heard the bird song, smelled the living earth. He was home. And in his joy, in his relief, in a single, fatal moment of human frailty, he forgot. He turned around. He saw her, just a step behind him, her hand outstretched, her face a mixture of love and despair. She was still in the shadow of the cave, not yet fully in the light. For a single, perfect, heartbreaking instant, their eyes met. And then, like smoke on the wind, she was pulled back into the darkness. He heard a faint whisper, "Farewell," and she was gone. Forever.
Orpheus was gone. His song of sorrow now just another echo in the endless halls of the underworld. But his was not the only story of eternal struggle in this realm. Not all who dwelt here were shades. Some were prisoners, bound not by chains, but by fate and the judgment of the gods. If you were to wander from the great hall, past the weeping fields of asphodel, you might find yourself at the foot of a great barren hill. And here you would witness a different kind of eternity. Here is Sisyphus. In life, he was a king known for his cunning, a man who believed he was cleverer than the gods themselves. He cheated death not once, but twice. For his arrogance, his punishment was not one of pain, but of purpose without end, of effort without achievement. Watch him now. His form is a mere shadow, but his muscles are forever tense with strain. Before him rests a massive boulder. It is immense, perfectly round, and impossibly heavy. He places his shoulder against the cold, rough stone. He sets his feet in the loose, gray dust of the hillside. And with a great, silent push, he begins. Feel the rhythm of his task, the slow, grinding push of stone against earth, the deliberate placement of one foot, then the next, the constant, unwavering pressure needed to move the great weight. There is no sound here but the faint scrape of rock and the imagined sound of a heart that has been beating for millennia. He does not hurry. He does not despair. There is only the task. Inch by inch, foot by foot, he pushes the boulder up the steep incline. The twilight sky of the underworld remains unchanged. There is no sun to mark the passage of time. There is only the journey upward. Halfway up the hill, his eternal muscles begin to ache. The weight seems to double. But he continues. One step and then another. The peak is now in sight, a flat, empty plateau against the gray gloom. He can almost feel the moment of relief, the single, fleeting instant of completion. With a final, monumental effort, he pushes the boulder over the crest. It rests on the peak. For a single, perfect moment, his task is done. There is a quiet pause, a breath held across eternity. And then, with a slow, deliberate tilt, the boulder begins to roll. It tumbles down the other side of the hill, its journey faster than the ascent. It kicks up dust, it gathers speed until it comes to rest with a soft, final thud, exactly where it began. Sisyphus watches it go. His face shows no surprise, no anger, no frustration. He simply turns, walks with slow, measured steps down the hill, and prepares to begin again. The push and the strain, the ascent, the brief moment of rest, and the inevitable fall. Over and over and over. It is a cycle without end, a perfect hypnotic rhythm of effort and release, a story not of punishment, but of the quiet, endless turning of a wheel. Push and climb, rest and release, again and again, for all of time. Not far from the hill of Sisyphus lies another figure of eternal punishment. His torment is not of effort, but of desire that can never be fulfilled. Imagine a still, clear pool of water. Its surface is like polished glass, reflecting the gray gloom above. Standing in the middle of this pool, with the water up to his chin, is the shade of Tantalus. In life, he was a king who dined with the gods, but who betrayed their trust in a terrible way. His punishment is one of cruel irony. He is eternally thirsty. He lowers his head, his parched lips moving towards the cool, clear water. He can feel its life-giving coolness just an inch from his skin. He can almost taste the relief it promises. But as his lips are about to touch the surface, the water recedes. It drains away into the ground, leaving behind only damp, cracked mud. He waits, and slowly the pool fills again, the water rising silently around him, clear, cool, and inviting. Above his head hangs the branch of a fruit tree. It is heavy with the most perfect fruit imaginable. Ripe, blushing pears, dark, glistening figs, and heavy, sweet pomegranates. He is eternally hungry. He reaches up a trembling hand, his fingers stretching towards a low-hanging fig. He can see the delicate skin of the fruit. He can smell its sweet, intoxicating perfume. His fingers are just about to grasp it, when a sudden, silent breeze, born from nowhere, sweeps through the underworld. It lifts the branch just out of his reach. He waits. The wind dies. The branch settles back down, the fruit dangling just above his head, a perfect, impossible promise. He is trapped, surrounded by everything he needs, yet able to possess nothing. The water that would quench his thirst, the fruit that would end his hunger, are forever just beyond his grasp. It is an eternity of stillness, of quiet, unfulfilled longing. A perfect portrait of wanting without ever receiving. The water below, the fruit above, and Tantalus in the middle, forever reaching, forever at peace in his torment. But not all of the underworld is a place of shadow and struggle. Far from the endless tasks and the unquenchable thirsts, there is another place, a place reserved for the souls of heroes and those who lived lives of great virtue. Let your mind drift away from the gray plains and imagine a gate of woven silver branches. As you pass through it, the air itself changes. It becomes soft and warm, a gentle, fragrant breeze that smells of night-blooming jasmine and dew-covered grass. You have arrived in the Elysian Fields. This is a land of perpetual, gentle twilight, but a twilight lit by a soft internal glow. The grass here is forever green and soft underfoot. Great weeping willow trees stand in silent groves, their leaves rustling with a peaceful, whispering sound. There are no duties here, no memory of pain. There is only rest. Along the banks of a slow, meandering river, you can see the shades of the great heroes. They are no longer clad in armor. Their faces are no longer grim with the cares of battle. Here is Achilles, his famous rage now cooled into a serene calm. He sits not with a spear, but with a lyre, playing a simple, quiet melody for a small group of listeners. There is Odysseus, his long, arduous journey finally over. He rests beneath an olive tree, a look of profound peace on his face, no longer searching for home, for he has found it here. They speak in low, gentle tones. They tell stories, not of war and strife, but of small, forgotten moments of joy from their mortal lives. Their laughter is soft, like the sound of distant bells on a clear night. This is the reward. Not a paradise of golden streets or endless feasts, but something far more precious. It is a place of peace, a place of release, a final gentle exhale after a long and difficult life. It is the quiet comfort of knowing that the struggle is over, that all is well, and that here, in the soft, eternal twilight, you are safe, you are at rest. And now, as the heroes rest in their endless peace, it is time for you to find your own. Imagine yourself walking away from the Elysian Fields, along a soft, mossy path. The path leads you to the edge of a final river. Its waters are impossibly clear, and they flow without a sound. This is the river Lethe, the river of forgetfulness. Its purpose is not to erase who you are, but to unburden you, to wash away the noise. Kneel at the water's edge. The air is cool and still. Dip your hands into the silent current. The water is cool and clean. Bring the water to your lips and take a sip. As you drink, feel the worries of the day begin to dissolve. The to-do lists, the conversations you replayed in your mind, the small anxieties. Watch them as they become like wisps of fog on the water's surface and gently drift away. Take another sip, and this time let go of the physical world, the feeling of the blankets around you, the faint sounds from outside your window. Let them all fade into a gentle, distant hum. They are no longer your concern. You are floating now, safe, secure. Take one final sip from the river of peace, and let go of thought itself. There is nothing left to analyze, nothing to solve. There is only stillness, only quiet. You have been on a long journey tonight, through darkness and through light. But now the journey is over. It is time to rest. Let everything go. Let the stories fade. Let the river carry it all away. There is only the quiet, only the peace. You are drifting now, deeper and deeper, into a soft and gentle and welcoming sleep. Sleep now. All is well. Sleep